Hermes. It's actually my third time here in Graz. It's funny because back in 2012, I was presenting at another conference in Sao Paulo, and Stefan, the guy who runs this show, came up to me and said, "Kei, I saw your presentation. I'm interested in bringing you to Graz for this marketing conference that I'm going to put together. I don't have a business yet. I don't have a conference yet. We're unknown, but I'll get back to you." And I said, all right, good. Yeah, we'll talk sometime. He actually came back to me 6 months later and said, we're going to invite you all the way to Graz to be, one of the marketing rock stars. It's sad that, they changed the name to 15 Seconds. I still love the name. Sorry, Stefan. But it's, it's good to be back. Okay, so I'm not going to waste your time. As you can see, I'm this Japanese-American guy who speaks English, talks about tech. How many of you have seen a Japanese guy talk about tech in English? That's probably me, right? Okay. All right. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having me. So as Herr Hermes just introduced me, so I'll be talking about brands utilizing tech for clients of tomorrow. So this is me. If you want to rant or talk about me, this is my Twitter handle. I am the Global Director of Innovation and Business Development for a company called Dentsu. We merged with a London media company called Aegis, so now we're known as Dentsu Aegis Media. But we're fairly unknown, but I was really happy. One of the volunteers here, Michaela, was sitting right next to me and said, "I'm going to start an intern here at your Vienna office." So I was really happy about that. Thanks, Michaela. Thank you. All right, so my usual life is on a plane. So I travel about 130 days, 140 days around the world to most of our 117 locations around the globe. So what I do is, I don't like advertising. I work for an advertising agency, but I get really, really sick and tired of advertising because it's trying to sell you stuff. But what I do is I talk about tech and innovation in a way that you'll understand. So what I do is not just live off of a plane, but I always talk about why tech and innovation should matter to you. Because at the end of the day, it makes storytelling all the more interesting, right? You could talk about like 3 points of the day. You could talk about, beverage companies and what they're doing on social media. But, sorry to say, but everybody's doing that. You're just another guy utilizing, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I use all of those, by the way. It's perfectly OK. But I have to be doing something different to get my message out there, not just for the clients, but to entice the consumers to say, hey, this is a brand that might really matter to me. OK, so taking tech and putting it into context that we understand is very, very important. OK, we talk about big data. What the hell is big data? Do you understand what big data is? All right, I don't understand. So for the normal Joe like me, sorry, I'm Japanese-American, but I could call myself Joe today, OK? That's the American side of me. All right, we could put it into a context where we say, OK, this is what's happening in the center of Tokyo because we're taking data of live GPS readings. So you see the lights flowing in. It's about 10 a.m. right now. This is the first visualization utilizing real GPS readings and representing the activities of Japan or Tokyo in a given day. So you saw the lights flowing in. The verticals that you see represent the population of a given place of a given time. And it looks all sexy, right? All right, now you get an idea of what Tokyo is all about. This is data visualization. Now, so how is it that, for example, you work with a brand that's come up with a fantastic telemetry system? And we did this for Honda. Some of you in the advertising agency have probably seen this over and over. So you can shut your eyes and go to sleep while I run this video. But what Honda did with their telemetry system called Internavi was fantastic. We utilized, for example, how many of you follow Formula One racing, F1 racing? Okay. So back in the day, there was this hero called Ayrton Senna. So he ran the fastest lap at Suzuka Circuit in Japan. And that was when Honda was actually experimenting with the telemetry system where it sends all the data about how many times you stepped on the axle, how many times you stepped on the brake, and sent it over via the cloud or wireless communication to get a feel of what's going right and wrong about the car. Okay, so what happens? We didn't have data visualization back in 1989, unfortunately. But how is it that you could recreate the fastest lap of Ayrton Senna back in 1989 by using that data and going to a museum that has that Formula One right there and being allowed to turn the engine on and looking at the data and pumping the axle and the brakes so that you're getting real sound out of it? That's the analog side. But all this data, you could recreate Ayrton Senna's fastest lap with just lights and sound. Watch this. So you're getting all this. Okay. So you're getting all this data, and now InterNavi is like deployed on all cars, all Honda cars within Japan. Okay. So what do you do with all that information? For example, when there's a national crisis. Forget about the Japanese, by the way. So back in 2011, March 11, most of you probably know that we had a devastating earthquake up north, we had a big tsunami come in, and we had a nuclear disaster. And then what happens is that you lose all the information about roads and traffic and all that stuff. So it's dark, no information. You don't know what's happening up there. So what Dentsu, my company, and Honda did was we utilized the connection of InterNavi to gather all the information about which roads were passable. Because we were tracking all the Honda cars going around. Forget about personal data and privacy. It's a national disaster. We took that data, and what you see is a visual representation of making a map based on the connectivity of Honda cars to allow people around Japan know that these roads are passable. When you have a national disaster, it's not the government that steps in first. It's not the municipal government that steps in first. It's the guys with this kind of technology together with creativity to answer a social issue or a problem. This is what we do. It delivers a strong message, and this is storytelling with a cause. This is what we do. All right. Now we have a platform actually available for our clients. So we could basically take, for example, GPS readings from people in Tokyo, and we could define, which geographical location we want to choose and what speed they're going. So this is the first visual representation taken by GPS readings of the Tokyo Marathon. So the blue lines that you see are the tracks, and the blue blobs that you see are the Japanese marathon runners with the smartphone in their pocket. We are probably the only people that run with the smartphone in their pocket, unfortunately. But you could see that an engine that is about like 30 megs or 40 megs, based on the projects that we've done in the past, we're taking all that know-how and putting it into something that's cool like this. All right, so a lot of people complain to me. They say, well, Kei, you're working together with Japan's largest telco. That's why you could get the GPS readings. But it's not only these GPS readings or mobile phones that emit location, right? So for example, how can you utilize Twitter tweets that you have geotags with them, right? How can you visualize a campaign, for example, right? So this is in Porto Alegre, where we have a small shop working on this platform for us. So you could see these blue ripples that are representing tweets. And then it's not only tweets that make up Twitter, right? Maybe half of what's being shown on Twitter are comments or retweets. So how is it that you could utilize a map and then just visualize not only the tweets, but you'll see these projectiles in orange start to fly, right? You see the social association or interaction of the original tweets in blue and the orange for the retweets and comments. So this is big data being, crunched in the back end. So you could see all this social interaction and visualize it so it has meaning. At the end of the day, your client doesn't have to know that it's all big data. But what they care about is, for example, who had the most influential tweet of the day? It's this person, right? So how influential was it? Forget about the numbers. Let's just visualize the shit. Ooh, that looks like World War III. So this is possible. as an agency, we're not just social media anymore, right? We're working on our own technology, and we're working on that technology so we could solve clients' problems or issues and help them build a story that is very robust and has meaning. Okay, so unfortunately in Japan, we don't have Oculus, and so forth. So this is just a video from one of our subsidiaries in Australia that did something really cool with VR. So I'm just going to show you this video. Okay, storytelling. There's a lot of people doing VR, AR, MR these days. Okay, but it's a lot of computer graphics. It's a lot of scenery, and you go through it about 90 seconds later, you're like dead sick, right? That's what happens to me. So what happens is that if you want to tell a real story, you got to sort of like mimic that experience. And in this case, it was not only the visuals that we brought to the experience, it was also like the sound and also the vibration, so you get the sensation of being there. And that's how far you have to go to deliver a message which is really strong, not just the visuals anymore. Okay, so I'm going to jump some slides here. Okay, I'm going to talk briefly about humanoids. So, how many follow robots or the industry of robots? Not industrial robots. Okay, great. Okay, so Dentsu has been actually very active in this area for quite some while. Did you know that this robot that you will see here is the first robot that we launched to the International Space Station back in 2013? That's 3 years ago. We are the only agency who had sort of like the guts and also some money on the side. Of course, thank you, Toyota, for sponsoring this, but we sent a robot. Okay, now, everybody's talking about robots these days, but we went a little further. Of course, this might be an example from the Far East, and you might you might laugh. But this is what we did with a talent, a personality.
Matsuko Deluxe.
All right, this video is going to be long, so I'm just going to tell you what this all means. We actually created a double of a real-life talent, and basically we didn't go after the technology and try to sell it. What was really interesting is that we created a new business model of doing talent management around this robot. We actually have this robot under the talent management roof, so whenever this robot goes and stars in a TV program, he gets as much as the real person. So basically, this person is getting double the salary. So this is a new business model that we're working with. And it's not only robots anymore. It's how you bring these robots into life and how you create a business model around it. So I'm going to skip this because it's blinking now. Okay, wait a second. Because this is the part I wanted to bring to attention. Julian, no music yet, okay? All right. All right, so Dentsu has been working on emotion analyzing for quite some time, 6, 7 years. For those of you who know me, I used to wear bionic cat ears and used to walk around in the stage. If you see me on YouTube, I wear these little funny ears. We actually could have quantified the output of 5 emotional states of the mind from 0 to 100. And we use that in a lot of cases. For example, this is called the neurocam. We look at your interest and concentration level. We set a threshold of 60, so whenever your interest and concentration level in aggregate exceeds 60, it automatically takes 5-second videos of whatever you're looking at. Imagine being able to test this in an out-of-home media environment. For example, you like a poster, it's there. If you hate the signage, it's not going to be there. It's very scary. But these are the possibilities that we are looking at right now. For example, like 10 years ago, most of you, including myself, we probably said, no, we're not going to look at mobile internet on our mobile phones, right? How many of you have a smartphone? There we go. So these kind of technologies are just around the corner. So, and every story has a happy ending, by the way. Okay. Oops.
Japanese.
Wait a second. All right. And I'm just going to show you 2 more videos, Julian. Or wait up, okay? All right. All right, now, utilizing brainwave technology, you might think it's really, geeky and stuff, but there's a lot that we could do with it. I just showed you some futuristic, the neurocam, utilizing your brainwaves to take interesting moments automatically based on your subconscious just showed you an example where we could utilize it for apparel brands. But this is another area that you could utilize your emotions too. For example, I have a grandmother who's 97. She flipped over this January, broke her hip bone. Now she's in a care, she's being taken care of a caregiver. And until then, she was perfectly okay. Now she's in a foster care home right now. And there are people who are taking care of her. Now, I visit her from time to time, but she responds perfectly fine. But she is the lucky one. For example, you have elderlies who, have a challenge in expressing their emotions. They have, for example, Alzheimer's. But it's interesting, people on the inside, your brain is still active. How is it that we can apply our technology, our findings, so that in the communications area, we can help these people communicate? How can we take the stress out of the caregivers or caretakers who experience all the stress all the time interacting with people who have challenges? So we made this thing called the care communicator.
要は虐待なんていうのは見えないところで起こり得てる。これは何なのかっていうと、職員たちが。
Okay, so I'm over time. I'm going to wrap up. Okay, so everybody gives you really smart, like 3 points and 5 points. I'm not going to do that. My final message is challenge yourself. Don't be scared to challenge yourself. Sir Richard Branson is the only reason I became an entrepreneur before I failed miserably. I'm at a big agency right now, but this was the word. You don't learn to walk by following rules. You learn by doing it by falling over. Take the risk, use technology, translate it into a message that people understand, right? Don't worry about the geeky side. You don't have to tell your clients about the technology you're using. Use the right words and passion to get the message out there. Your clients will understand. And at the end of the day, if the consumer is happy, hallelujah, right? Thank you so much.